All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday morning. Well, at least it's morning for me. I am here in Denver, Colorado. So it is 9 o'clock in the morning. I know we probably have, I think I saw some folks on the Pacific side. I saw some folks in super snowy Nevada, which I've seen is getting a ton of snow up in the north, that area. I have a sister-in-law who lives in Reno, and she says it's just crazy the amount of snow that they're getting. It's like, we do not have any snow here in Denver today, but it is a little chilly, but it's sunny, so I'll take that. So for all of you folks who are in the snow, in the cold, stay warm. I know I've seen some posts in Sonder Club about folks who have not had electricity and it's really cold, or who have kind of been snowed in, all those things. So stay safe and warm, everyone, and know that spring is on its way. It just sometimes takes a detour, I think, sometimes. So welcome to our weekly setup for this first full week of March. Please be sure to set your chat to everyone. And I know sometimes if you're on a phone or if you're on an iPad, it keeps flipping back to host and panelists, so you have to keep changing it. So if you're ever wondering like, gosh, nobody responded to my question or nobody responded to my comment, that's because only Katie and I can see it. So speaking of that, Katie is here with me as a stage manager. She will be watching the chat. She's popping on and waving. You may or may not see her depending on settings on your Zoom, but she is here. She is another one of the facilitators, and we do take turns back and forth being facilitators and stage managers. So we are here for you. We do have the chat. Again, welcome to use that for comments and thoughts. We also have a Q&A feature. If you have some specific questions that you'd like answered, you can always use that as well, and we will try and keep an eye on both of those. Let's see. So let's get started here. The first thing I like to do, just a little more housekeeping, reminders about Sonder Club and Sonder Socials and our Silk and Sonder Journal, right? This idea that what is this community that we are building? And really the club, on the app, our socials, it's a place for clarity, helping unlock that mental clarity through insights and inspiration with our Sonder fam, being able to share compassion. We really try to cultivate that safe space to be compassionate towards yourself and others, connection, connecting deeper with yourself and others through that thoughtful conversation and support, and creativity. I love all of the creativity here in Sonder fam. Folks have just such fabulous gifts with their drawing and their calligraphy and their ideas for how to repurpose and just all of those amazing things. So nurture that curiosity and ignite that inner creative self that you have, right? Also, just to remind everyone, our community guidelines here in the Sonder Club, and when we do these Sonder Socials, you want to be kind and courteous, treat yourself and others with respect. We are here to support and uplift, right? That is one of the very important tenets of Sonder Club and Sonder Socials. Respect each other's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Be very careful of anything that might be perceived as, that bullying feature, which sometimes is hard because sometimes in chat, right, it's just text, so things kind of come across in different ways, but just being careful there. And remember, ultimately, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But remember, you are individually are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, right? So love to have you here. Love to have you participating in the chat. Sometimes the chat gets going really fast when we have a lot of folks here, so don't let that stress you out. And a lot of folks, when they come to the weekly setup, some people will focus more on kind of hanging out in the chat and typing and taking little notes, sticky notes, or those kinds of things for what they want to do later. Other folks come specifically to focus on the journal. They don't pay attention to the chat. Some people do a little bit of mix of both, and that's absolutely fine, right? Again, this is here for you to be able to spend that hour on you and what you want to get out of this journal. This is very individualized and personalized, and probably everybody's journals look a little bit different, which is great, right? It's where we get to kind of express ourselves, right? And be creative. So let's dive in here. As you have seen, the theme for this month is gratitude. And I do want to mention, if you signed up for the 31 Days of Gratitude email, those are going out every day. They usually go out around 7 a.m. local time, wherever you are. If you don't get them, a couple things I suggest is looking in your spam. Mine have gone to spam a few times, and I've had to try and set up the email address that it comes from as a trusted sender so it stops going into spam. If you have Gmail, oftentimes it goes into the promotion tab, which a lot of times, if you're like me, you don't really look in there. Make sure you kind of pop in there. If you haven't signed up for the 31 Days of Gratitude, Katie will pop a link in the chat so you can see where you can sign up for that. I don't know if they will be able to give you the back ones, but as Katie is saying, you can always reach out to hello@silkandsonder and .com, and she'll put that email address in the chat. If you ever have any questions about not getting an email, not getting your journal, any of those kinds of things, always hello@silkandsonder.com is your place to go. So this month, again, digging into that idea of gratitude, digging into that idea of when you express gratitude, when you are feeling grateful, it actually, there's been a lot of science around this. It's actually not possible to have feel both stress and gratitude at the same time. The gratitude happily pushes out that stress and those bad feelings. So the more you can kind of be living with this idea, excuse me, of a mindset of gratitude, usually the stronger you feel, right? The better you feel, more balanced you feel. So that's why we're really kind of digging into that this month, which is really kind of fun, right? So our agenda for today is we're going to look at a gratitude mind map. So every month we kind of dig into the theme, and we have these little mind mapping activities where we have you really kind of zero in on a particular area of your life and kind of focus that theme. We'll do our rosebud thorn to help us kind of remember what the week had in store for us last week. And then we'll dig into our weekly setup, some of those different pages. This week it's page 32 and 33, right? Kind of making sure that you are all set up for your weekly setup. Yes, and Emily recognizes the cartoons on here is from the latest Kate. I love her very positive, very self-affirming artwork and quotes that she has on here. And this is the other thing that I want to remind everyone. There's room for you here just as you are. If you're feeling really successful, things are going awesome, great, your job is really pumping along, you're really feeling relationships are good, personal life is good, everything is great, we are here for you. We love to celebrate successes. We love to hear things are going good. Conversely, maybe things aren't going so good for you. Maybe there's a breakup. Maybe there's a death in the family or some illness. Maybe there's some job uncertainty, right? Things are going bad. We are here for you too. We are here to support that. So never feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a downer, right? I don't want to talk about, the struggles I'm having because everybody else is doing good. Also, if you're doing good, don't say, oh, I don't want to make other people feel bad because I'm doing good. Again, remember, there's room for you here just as you are. The other one I like is the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy, right? We all have different emotions. We all have different things that come up for us. It's not wrong how you feel. It's not bad, right? It's just kind of how it is. So again, just kind of a reminder to think of kind of hold these things and those community guidelines in mind as you're going through setting up your journal and participating here in the chat. So let's jump into that mind map. This again really is this idea of being able to kind of dig into a particular space. And Linda is saying, thinking about the box of chocolates rituals. So if you do the daily rituals with Meha, which is super fun to do every morning, I actually listen to them in my car, so I can't write. But I think of what I would write if I was going to. So that's always kind of a fun little time to reflect. But so this month, we're going to explore gratitude in these different times in our lives, right? So there's 4 weekends in March. So we're going to have 4 different times or 4 different areas where we really kind of want to focus on gratitude. So this week, we are going to focus on the past, right? And sometimes this can be a little tricky. It might feel a little oogie sometimes if there's some things in the past where, you're not necessarily feeling really strong about. But what you're going to do when we do these mind maps, you're going to find a blank page in your journal. This isn't in the actual journal. You're just going to find a blank page, or you could use a section. So what I like to do is I like to use the scratch pad section for the week, where I focus on that one particular area. So again, example, this is for the past. And then you're just going to kind of think about things that you're grateful for in the past. And remember, sometimes you can be grateful for those events that maybe were hard, or for those things that were a struggle. Yeah, Crystal's saying my past has made me the person I am today. And that's 100% true, right? And we can really learn and be grateful for the learning that we had in the past. Sometimes we're not super thrilled with what we had to kind of go through. But again, it's kind of something that happened and kind of the way they went through. Oh, Amanda, that's a great idea, saying someone at one of the socials mentioned they like to use the definition page, which is on page 3, which is also what I have up here with this idea of gratitude, the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for, and to return to kindness. So again, you can use a blank page in your journal. You can use a blank page if you have the thoughts journal. You can use scratch paper. You can use the scratch pad that's in the weekly setup. You can kind of write on page 3 to kind of set things up. Just kind of, if you want to divide it into 4 squares and use that. Heather's going to use the gratitude jar. Love that. So lots of different ideas, whatever kind of speaks to you about a fun place to kind of jot this down. So I'm going to play a little bit of music. I will let you work on this. You're welcome to share with us if you'd like. Yeah, Katie's even saying you can use the shopping list space or the weekly to-do list. Any of those places you can kind of fill that in. So I'll play a little song, I'll be quiet, and let you work on that. And then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. All right. So some good reflecting. I can kind of see in the chat, Amanda, I thought that was a great observation where you're kind of thinking about gratitude as a form of closure. I think that's great. As we think about the past, a lot of us have worked through different trauma, different struggles, different issues. And as you kind of work through that, you do get to a point where being able to feel gratitude for that event, even if it was a really bad and crummy event, is helping you kind of find that closure and time to move forward. So I think that is a great way to kind of think about this, right? And yeah, Nancy's saying, kind of taking a negative and making it into a positive, and that really that mindset is so important. And yes, for those of you who are asking about the song, that is from the movie, the Pixar movie Up, which is kind of a fun yet kind of sad, but good, right? And again, kind of thinking about being grateful for things in the past, and using that maybe as a little bit of closure as we move forward. So every week when we do these weekly setups, we will reveal, so there's week 2, 3, and 4, so we'll reveal kind of a different area where we want you to focus, but it really helps to kind of spend a little bit of time digging into that theme for the month, right? So speaking of reflecting, now I want you to kind of reflect back on the week. And I think this is a really important thing to do, and one that I used to be a little resistant to. I was like, moving forward, got to keep moving, got to keep going, right? Got to keep getting prepared for the next thing. And I think it's really good for us to spend a little bit of time reflecting back on the week, right? And thinking about our rose, which is a highlight, something that went well, something that we're happy with, something that made us smile. It can be something big, it can be something small, anything like that, right? And then our bud is that emerging opportunity, maybe something that's coming up in the future that you're looking forward to. And then a thorn is a challenge, right? One of those things, maybe something that happened in the week that was, just maybe kind of kind of a little bit of a stressor, something that didn't go as planned, but something that you want to kind of write down and think about, and then you can move on. And I think it's really important for us to reflect back on our week, what we did, what happened. I think sometimes we have a tendency, because we're always so kind of moving forward, we don't give ourselves that time to reflect. So again, the rose is a highlight, something that made you happy, something that made you smile, something that went well, right? It's the rose part of the flower. It's the pretty part, right? The happy part. The bud is that little thing that's going to eventually be the pretty flower, right? So it's something that's emerging. And then the thorn is a challenge, right? Something that that's there on the flower, right? We can't have the rose without the thorn, but we want to kind of acknowledge that and then move forward. So spend some time. Please feel free to let us know in the chat if you want to let us know your rose, your bud, your thorn, all three, and then we will check back in here in just a moment. right. Once again, great sharing, great thinking of reflecting on that week, finding those things that went well. Crystal's saying a rose is not getting stuck in the snow. Absolutely, right? Finishing work projects early, power walking, exceeding their step goals, going to Disney, seeing the new parade and fireworks, finding a spiral bound version of favorite goals planner, right? Again, and the rose can really be something big or it can be something very small. Lately, my rose has often been just watching the birds. I got a new bird feeder. And if you've if you've been with us for a while, I got a bird feeder in December, and I've gotten all into feeding my birds. And so it's just so fun to watch the little birds out there. I kind of see that. And that's a very small, very simple little thing, but it's kind of it's fun and it brings me joy, right? So, yeah. And for a lot of folks, the thorn is the weather. Definitely has been kind of obnoxious for some folks. Yay, Christy, you ordered a bird feeder. Bird feeders are, I've got to say, like, I always kind of thought that maybe was a little silly, but watching the birds is super fun. They're just to watch them kind of flit around is kind of fun. So again, this is a great opportunity to really reflect back. It's also really good to use this at the end of the month when we set up the next month. You can go back really quickly and flip through your rosebud thorns and kind of help you think about, okay, like what was this last month like when I look at these different pieces in each week. So let's dive into that weekly planner and let's look at that first little section. So again, we are on page, I skipped my page. We are on page 32. Believe it or not, this is going to be week 10 of the year, right? I always like that little reminder there up at the top where it tells you, hey, we're diving into week 10 for 2023. And think about how you want to feel. So I want to remind you with your feelings, and I always kind of try to remind folks, remember all that time you spent setting up your journal and you went and you did those intentions where you kind of talked about what your intentions were for the month. Take a look back at those, right? Remember those intentions that you set. And maybe you want to focus this week on kind of feeling that intention, right? Really kind of that way that you wanted to feel for the month, that way that you wanted to be. And you can use that to help you kind of guide that feeling, right? And so lots of different ways you could do this, lots of different words. I loved the one on the bottom left. Somebody had a little Mighty Mouse and they said, I want to feel mighty. So fun. Peaceful, flexible, happy, confident. Maybe you want to feel grateful, renewed, special, beautiful, adventurous, right? Light and airy, energetic. I will also give you the feelings wheel if you're wanting to maybe find a new word to kind of pop in there. But think about that for a minute. I'll play just a short little song while you work on that. Let us know in the chat if you'd like what feeling how you want to feel this week, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. thank you all for sharing your different words, these ways that you want to feel this week. Again, grounded, motivated, creative. I was drawn to the word enthusiastic. I kind of like when I can feel that way kind of throughout the week, kind of making sure that I do things that are helping me with that idea of enthusiasm, right? So also, you don't have to use a word, right? I didn't mention that. You could use like the picture, you could use a drawing, you could use a sticker, you could use a lyric from a song, you could use, kind of whatever. But again, look back at that on a daily basis and really think about like, okay, I said I wanted to feel that way this week. How are my actions helping me with my feelings, right? So then we're going to jump into this idea of the weekly major 3 goals, which is that kind of in the middle. And then there's the to-dos over on the left. First, we're going to start. I like to start with the goals. And I'll tell you why. You don't have to necessarily start, but that's how we're going to kind of go in the order of things today. I like to start with my goals because those are kind of the big things. And then I think of my to-dos as all the little things I need to do to reach that big thing, that big goal. So first I have to kind of decide what are my major 3 goals. So I might again look back at those, my intentions on page 9, my habit tracker on page 11, and think about those things as I set up those goals. You can also talk about setting your goals through the lens of gratitude. Maybe you want to kind of think of ways that you want to show gratitude or goals that you have with gratitude. Maybe you want to create 3 no goals that affect your life in a positive way. For example, maybe you want it to be no alcohol or no doom scrolling on the internet, no more than X number of minutes on social media, no impulse spending, no takeout meals, right? Any of those kinds of things for the no goals. You can look at previous weeks or journals and maybe see if you have anything outstanding that you want to accomplish. Or some people like to maybe frame their goal around a single personal challenge. So maybe some sort of a fitness challenge or a cleaning or a decluttering challenge, a self-care challenge. I have a soup challenge, right? We have one facilitator who's always doing like a smoothie challenge or a salad challenge. I said soup challenge because when it's cold, I don't like to eat cold food. But this idea of like maybe each day I'm going to eat a different kind of soup, or I'm going to make different kinds of smoothies, or maybe my challenge is I'm going to have a piece of fruit with every lunch meal that I have this week, just those kind of challenges. Or again, also using that monthly theme to kind of set those up. So here's some examples of things that folks have done in their weekly major 3 goals. And again, I want to point out, you do not have to have 3. You could have just 1, absolutely fine. So I like the one up kind of in the top. They have declutter, organize, and clean, right? Those are kind of their 3 goals for the week. Maybe the one on the bottom, prioritizing sleep, make a movement plan, increase effort at work. Again, different kinds of ideas. In the middle, enjoy time with family, share gratitude with others, rest, allow my younger self to be seen and loved, integrate new weekly goals into existing ones, give myself tons of grace along the way. Or maybe it's more about feelings or actions that you want to take. So think before you speak, don't take on extra or other things, preserve time with family. And also, and I do recommend, if folks are new, I recommend trying to do it with the 3 major goals, kind of trying to do the intention for each of these sections. But if you've been using it for a while and you found that this doesn't necessarily work, maybe you want to use this, you want to repurpose. So maybe you want to have 3 new words for the week, or maybe some movies or TV shows that you want to watch, or 3 songs, kind of like a playlist, or fun activities that you want. Just any of these kinds of things. There's lots of different ways to do this, but it is kind of fun to kind of set up these goals. And again, think about your goals. How are those goals going to help you with your feeling for the week, right? Think about those things. So again, you know the drill. I'm going to play a little song, let you work on those. Feel free to share your goals for the week, or if you're maybe repurposing that section, let us know kind of what you're doing in that realm as well. excellent job with setting those goals, really kind of thinking about what do you need. Again, like I said, I kind of looked back at this. Okay, if I say this week I want to feel enthusiastic, what are some goals that I can accomplish or and kind of big ideas that will help me with that enthusiasm, right? So I was thinking movement, right? I know I feel more enthusiastic when I can move my body, when I can go for a walk, when I can just kind of get up and move. Sometimes it's even just dancing around the house, just having that movement. When I can focus, I can be much more enthusiastic. Sometimes I allow the extra stuff in the world to distract my focus, but I know that I feel much more enthusiastic when I'm able to be focused on something and really dig deeply in and connecting with people, with ideas, with these different things. And so those are kind of my big goals. So then kind of thinking about that, now you've got this way you want to feel, you've got these goals. Now we're going to dive into our to-dos, right? And there's a lot of different ways to tackle this. Some people say, oh, I already keep a to-do list somewhere else. This to-do list looks kind of different. So again, I'm going to kind of show you some different examples of things that folks have done. And I just want to give you a reminder of, there was a quote from one of the newsletters that I subscribe to. I subscribe to a lot of different newsletters for different ideas, but Josh Spector had a really interesting reminder that we want to remember the results that you want rarely come without a process of gradual steps toward it first, right? So when you think about the results that you want, what are those small steps that are going to take for you to get there? So this is a good place to kind of think of those small steps. So you can do it as kind of this to-do list. You can do it as, a lot of folks like to do the ta-da list, right? Like, ta-da, I've already done these things, so now I'm going to write them down. I've given you a little ta-da bingo that someone created. A lot of people like to use this space for a fun little bingo. And there's also the to-dos bingo underneath that for things that they want to do. We also like to show this kind of Eisenhower matrix, which is this important and urgent. So things you need to do, important but not urgent. Maybe you decide if there's a different deadline that you want to do, or maybe you can put that into the next week. Maybe it's something that's not really important and you want to delegate that to someone, or it's not important for you to do, right? And you want to kind of like give that on to someone else. Or maybe you realize it's not important and it's not urgent, so you're just going to delete it. Maybe there's some things that you've been doing that you could take off your plate, right? Maybe binging TV shows, spending hours on social media, like those kinds of things. So kind of thinking of ways that you can kind of flip that around. We've also got the one in the middle that someone used, and they kind of divided it up by wants and needs, right? Here in my to-dos, here's the things I want to do, and here are things I need to do. So again, different ideas for these things with your to-dos. Again, thinking back to your goals, thinking back to how you want to feel, thinking back to your intentions. So let us know what kinds of things that you're putting that you're putting in here. And then we'll check back in with you here in just a moment. Okay, so I think folks are getting the idea of kind of taking a look at this, thinking about those to-dos, thinking about those 3 goals, kind of thinking again, kind of linking that back to how you want to feel. And so let's move forward into our habits and activities down here at the bottom of the page. So people will ask, like, what's the difference between these habits and activities and the monthly habits and activities page, right? The little wheel. And so the idea is these are ones that you just want to do a certain number of times this week. So the monthly ones are things that we want to do every single day, right? But these are things that we want to add in. Again, maybe these are some habits and activities that kind of tie into our to-dos or to tie into the 3 goals. And again, kind of tying into the feeling. So think about lots of different ways to do this again. And remember, you don't have to fill up every single line. You can have just one thing, like the one in the middle. They just had their habit activity was hydrate, right? And they could kind of keep track of when they felt that for each day of the week. You've got, I like to do this kind of idea of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the first thing is things I like to do 5 times. It's kind of this one down in the bottom left-hand corner. Things I want to do 4 times this week, things I want to do 3 times this week, things I want to do 2 times this week, and things I want to make sure that I've done at least once this week. So those are kind of fun. And I like that particular example because it's a just say no example. So here's all the things that they're just saying no to, the habits that they kind of have on there. Or then there's also the one up at the top. They have 3 things: dishes, laundry, daily ritual, and how many times they want to do that this week. Again, going back to that March intentions or the monthly habit trackers, kind of thinking about what are some things that are going to get you to your goals, what are some things that are going to help you have your help you feel that way you want to feel, help you kind of look back at those intentions, right? So let us know what kinds of things you're putting in the habit tracker. We'll check back in and see what kinds of things people are coming up with. All right, so I know you're still maybe still working a little bit on those habits, but I want to make sure that we have enough time to get over to our next page, which is over on page 33. So again, remember, you can always keep working on this after we're done. right? It's not necessarily a one and done thing, but hopefully you've got some ideas. Folks have kind of shared some different things that they like to put on here. And I had shared that sometimes I will put, I often put on here the get my 6,000 steps per day. And I tell myself I maybe only need to do that 4 times this week or maybe 5 times this week, but I give myself that grace. And oftentimes I end up doing it all 7, but it kind of, telling myself I only have to do it 4 or 5 times kind of gives me helps me feel a little more a little less stressed by that idea, right? So keep thinking of those different habits, different things that you can kind of pop in there. Look at last week, what did you do? Habits that were helpful, habits that weren't, kind of how you want to move forward on that. So again, jumping over onto page 33 where we've got the meal plan. So this is the one I hear a lot of times folks want to maybe repurpose. But again, I do think sometimes it's maybe not a plan, but maybe it's a tracker where you kind of track the things that you're going to eat. A lot of folks like to use it maybe to just track dinner, helping to plan dinner. Like who knew as an adult we would have to come up with what are we going to have for dinner like a million times in our lives, right? So it's kind of, this is a good place to kind of track that out. So you have kind of an idea of what you're looking forward to eating later on that night, or if you need to go to the grocery store, what kinds of things you need to pick up. Some people like to use it as an exercise tracker. Some people like to use it as a wardrobe planner, a packing list, maybe favorite things that they saw that day. Yeah, so sometimes if you catch yourself maybe eating the same things all the times, or you're trying to get vegetables in, you might want to maybe track like, here's the vegetable I'm going to eat on Monday, here's the vegetable I'm going to eat on Tuesday, right? Kind of tracking what that looks like in there. Maybe if you want to make sure that you're getting more fiber or, different kinds of things, and you can kind of see different variety. Or it also is helpful sometimes if you're having any sort of allergy issues, maybe some upset stomach or different kinds of things, you can go back and look and be like, oh, well, yesterday I had, whatever, and maybe that's why I'm kind of not feeling so great. So kind of a good space to use for that. So you can kind of take a look at this and see, again, some different ideas for ways to use it. Let us know maybe how you are using it, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. Right, so hopefully you have some good ideas for ways that you're thinking about using this section. Again, you don't always have to use every single section. Sometimes you can use this to jot down notes. You can, Rachel, I think, is going to use it for gratitude quotes. talking about, oh yeah, Reverend Joy Ellen's going to use it to track the drawers or cabinets that she's going to reorganize. So again, kind of see what works for you. What do you need to kind of track? What do you need to plan out for the week in each one of these days? Always a good space to use. So I'm going to do 2 sections next, so you can work on 2 different sections. First is the mind body health plan. And what does this mean? Well, it's kind of keeping track maybe of things that you want to do each day or things that you have done that benefit either your mind or your body, or maybe both. So maybe it's things like exercise, maybe it's things like meditation, different kinds of things like that. You can see some different examples of ways that people have used it. I love that one person decided they didn't need all that space in the meal plan, so they just switched this over to the meal plan because they were just going to track dinner. Other people have used it. They just kind of divided up into half. Something I did well this week, some ways I loved others this week. Bingo, everybody loves to make these into bingo boards, right? To kind of to do some of the different to-dos that you can kind of pop in. Thinking about different kinds of rest that you might need. Maybe you need emotional rest, sensory rest. If you Google 7 types of rest, you can find kind of some interesting ideas for ways to kind of think about rest for yourself. A lot of people like to do the, Meatless Monday, TV-free Tuesday, kind of that fun alliterative way to think about each day and what kinds of things that you want to do for your mind and or body on those particular days. And I'm also going to let you work on your shopping list section. And again, you can use this for a literal shopping list, things you need to buy. You can do some fun bingo. You can use it for a fun quote. Maybe a packing list if you're going to go on a trip. Maybe it's for drawings or doodles. Maybe it's filling out, creating bedtime routines. I saw Katie saying that she was struggling a little bit with not getting things done the night before and then having to kind of wake up to these things that were outstanding. So it's like maybe you want to kind of have a routine that you want to set up for the evening of things that you want to make sure that are done before you go to bed, right? Those different kinds of things. So think about those. Again, play a brief song. Let us know if you have any ideas of how you're going to kind of set these areas up, and we'll check back in here in just a few moments and kind of wrap things up and make sure you're all ready for your week. Right. So hopefully, again, got some good ideas, things that you want to do for these sections, what you want to do with the mind body health plan. And Katie's even saying, sometimes I leave this page pretty blank. I give myself grace on that because it isn't what I want to focus on for the week, right? Again, what do you want to focus on? What do you need to keep track of? Sometimes also in the middle of the week, I think, oh, I need to write this down somewhere. Where can I write it down? Oh, I don't have anything on my shopping list. I'm going to make myself a little note right here, right? So lots of different ways to kind of go through and do that. So believe it or not, this is always the fastest hour when we have our Sonder socials. It's much faster than an hour on the treadmill, I can tell you that. And so I want to also point out that there's this little box on the bottom that says, I am loving. And some people like to use this with at the end of the week. Some people like to fill it out in the middle of the week as things come to them, or maybe what they've been loving. So my two little pictures that I have on here, one is of some little spring flowers, buds starting to come up. That's always that I love spring. Spring is definitely my favorite season. So getting excited that that's coming up. The other thing, as I mentioned, I was super into the birds. So there's this app called Merlin, and it's a free app. And you can use it to identify the birds that are singing. So you can just go outside and you can do the little, there's several things you have to download because you have to download some different libraries, but you just kind of push that. And it's amazing. It's so fun to kind of see, oh, that's what that bird is that's making that little noise. So Laura, do you have that one? Yeah, it's so fun. It's such a fun app to use. And then you also have the recording of the bird singing that that it saves, and it will also play you other recordings of people with that bird singing. So super fun. Yeah, so sometimes I use it loving a particular TV show. Yep, Reverend Joel, and I'm watching Mandalorian as well, season 3. Love to keep that on there. I also, if you want to see Pedro Pascal and you're good with slightly scary stuff, the Last of Us is also a show that I've been enjoying, but it is about, you know, the kind of a zombie apocalyptic kind of world, which I kind of like those shows. I don't know why. So, but you do get to see Pedro Pascal there. So yes, Crystal, there's a new episode tonight. So love my Sunday nights watching this. So hopefully you've got some great ideas for things that you want to kind of track. Share these examples in Sonder Club. That's the best place to kind of go to find examples. That's where we get the examples for our socials. We love to see kind of what everyone is doing. Got a couple QR codes here for you. We've got the refer a friend. We have the 10 for 10 that you can do. You get $10 and they get $10 if they sign up. Also, we do have the survey is back, the share your feedback. So, and Katie will put these links in the chat for everyone to be able to get to as well. And I think you also get an email that will have the feedback survey in there as well. But let us know what kinds of things you want to see. If you want to see more weekly, that's the result of the surveys, was more weekly setups on Saturdays, more weekly setups in early on Sundays, more weekly setups, you know, different kinds of times. So they've kind of listened to that. If you want to see more of the journal prompt socials, when you want to see those, just always be sure that you let us know time zone that you're in, so they can kind of keep an eye on that. And then really quick, here's my playlist. I will share that. I obviously did not play all the songs, but I always like to share. I will share that link in the chat as well. So have a fabulous week. Oh, also Katie's dropping in the link for the YouTube event recordings. So you can't search this. You have to make sure you bookmark this link, but all the socials are posted on this site. Give us a few days to get that posted up there. Especially over the weekend, it takes them a while to get it there, but there's also lots of other weekly setup socials in there. So you can always kind of take a look and see what's on there. Sometimes it doesn't have the music, and it definitely doesn't have the chat. So it's a little bit different, but it is good if you need to kind of have a place where you can kind of go that gives you some ideas for kind of how you want to set up your week. And there's all the different facilitators. We have so many different ideas sometimes. That's why sometimes we go a little bit over. So thank you all for being here this morning. Hope to see you again in another social, and have a fabulous week. And I hope you have a really fun first full week of March, right? Week number 10 of the year. All right, take care.
You can't resist, don't even try. Magnificent, ain't gonna lie. It's just so effortless, so effortless. It's just so effortless. Hashtag blessed. We make it look easy, we make it look good. When everybody sees it, they stop and take a look. So celebrate yourself, celebrate. So celebrate yourself, it's gonna feel so great. We make it look good, we make it look good. We make it look good, we make it look good. We make it look good, we make it look good. We make it look good, we make it look good. We make it look good.